Now we're going to go over each specific car stereo here. Toyota has several different connectors depending on the year and model of your car, and Toyota is probably the most interesting one because there's several things that happen in Toyota, and usually when you purchase the aftermarket wire harness it doesn't match the one you have in your dash, and we're going to show you why on this one. The normal universal Toyota connectors, there was two different styles. This is the older style. There was usually two connectors, one large one and one small one. Then as time went on they went to a newer style which is very similar to the old, again with two connectors. And then they moved on to several different type of connectors, a single connector and another single connector. Both these are different. Now usually what happens is you purchase the aftermarket wire harness, which is going to mate to the factory harness. And what we have here is the aftermarket. We're going to have, usually what happens again is you order the aftermarket wire harness and you get two pieces, and when you get into the car it should mate right up to the existing harnesses in the car and plug right in. Again, these two harnesses give you the universal colors, so hooking this up to the aftermarket stereo harness is very simple. However, a lot of times you get these two connectors and they do not match what you have in the dash. What you may have in the dash will be a connector similar to this single one. Now, even though you've purchased the aftermarket harness and it does not mate, what happens here is Toyota adds amplifiers to their vehicle. And if you follow this connector back to where it goes, right to the connector, this connector goes right into the amplifier. Usually you can see how far away from the stereo it's mounted. But when you go to this, these two connectors mate, that come out of this amplifier, mate directly to the aftermarket harness that you purchased. So if you're looking for these two connectors, you need to follow the connector back to the amplifier. Now there's also an earlier version of this with a different connector that if you follow it back as well and remove the two connectors from the amplifier, they will mate to your aftermarket wire harness. Now the one tricky one we have is usually like the Toyota Avalon, and what you will find up behind the dash will be this wire harness. Now we've pulled the complete harness out of the car to show you what's going on here, and what you have in this car, again with the this is the JBL amplifier that we have here. And the way this works is, in this particular system, is you still have the two universal connectors that will pull out, which again will mate to your aftermarket wire harness, connector for connector. But what they did here was these are the two connectors that are in the dash, and they wanted to make this a JBL system. So what they did is they've built a wire harness. This amplifier is usually located in behind the glove box, and this wire harness mates to the two universal plugs for Toyota that you just purchased the aftermarket wire harness for. And what this does is it loops through this whole loop, goes over to the amplifier. You have your in and out connectors and your connectors at the amplifier. Then it comes back and provides this connector that plugs into the JBL stereo. Since you're not using this connector and purchase the aftermarket harness, you have to find these two connectors in the wire bundle. And when you disconnect these, you've just bypassed the entire amplifier and taken this out of the circuit and ended up with the two connectors. The aftermarket wire harness mates to them, and you can add your aftermarket stereo very simply. No antenna adapter is needed on this. See our website for your specific vehicle's wire harness. And if this video has been helpful, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.